commission to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Item number 3 is an invitation for a citizen to schedule time on the commission agenda for an item not listed. Did anyone sign in to participate in that this morning? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any changes, modifications, corrections?
Nope.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is consent agenda items, which includes the approval of the minutes, travel requests, approval of personnel action notices, approval of cellular authorizations, the human services report. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any comments on any of those items? Hearing none, Jenna, call the roll, please.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 6 is routine business. A, approval of the claims. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Pierce?
And I don't know if Commissioner Krogman maybe wants to take the lead on this.
Well, yeah, there's a couple things here. I think it's probably going to get figured out here, but there's some balances that are zeroed on some of those, and the Y next to them. And
So what happened, it was a timing issue. So our software we didn't roll over the 22 budget until, I look back, it was actually Wednesday afternoon. Well, that's after Kim in the finance office had processed all the claims and sent out the claims report. So what has to happen at year end, the finance things and has to get a number of things done before we roll the 22 budget into place in the software. So what it's looking at when she inputs those claims ahead of rolling that new budget, it's looking at basically a budget that doesn't exist or just some random numbers that kind of get put in there by the software. So now if we were to run the report, it would look very, very different because we rolled the budget Wednesday afternoon and that was after. Now keep in mind, because we went cash basis, this is way, way sooner than what we've ever done in the past. When we were accrued, we didn't roll the budget, probably it was into March. So this is a lot sooner. So next time you'll see it'll be fine. And everything is date driven in the software. So what will happen is now that the new budget is input, it'll go back to both claims on that were approved at our previous meeting and this meeting and see that they are 22 claims and then put those against the 22 budget. It does that. It's all date driven in the software. So it's sort of a process thing in the finance office.
So are you saying, Stacy, that report could be run today so that we have where we're at on the budget?
I think so. It should be able to.
Okay, and I'm just going to say, I looked at that a lot last night, trying to figure out where everything was matched up, and I'm not going to vote to approve claims until I have a report that says that we're not paying things that we shouldn't be paying, and that's part of the claims report. I just have a problem, and if the information is available, I think maybe somebody should print that off, bring it up so we could see it. But
I'll
that's
have
just
somebody
my position.
run it and bring it up to you.
I guess my thought, though, is what I'm looking at is isn't necessarily, isn't that a balance of what has been spent by department, but not actually what, I mean, the claims themselves are individual payments.
Yes.
Right, but then I guess I'm trying to get to this. This is, account totals, so it doesn't necessarily, that's not correct, but the claims themselves, I think, are probably correct. And that's why I'm going to vote for them, because I don't think those are going to change. It's just the line item, annual budget, account totals will change.
The
Am I correct on that?
The problem is that this list is what tells us whether or not all those non-mandated monies, and we're expending a lot on mandated monies today, whether they match up with what's in the budget. And they're just a one-time entry. They don't get entered again over and over. Like, you know, if some department bought a chair, it really won't matter if that's what put them over for this. But all those non-mandated monies, I can't tell by looking. I had already turned in my budget book to Michelle to dispose of it. I don't know that those numbers are all right. I imagine they're all right, but I don't know that.
So Commissioner Pierce, are you suggesting that we table this item to the end of the meeting?
I would like to do that. Thank you. I'd make a motion to table this until the end of the meeting, the claims vote.
Is there a second? I'll second it, so that we get a chance to see that running totals, and then we can bring it back at the end of the meeting. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? We'll table item A until the end of the meeting, once we get a chance to see that claim summary report. Moving on to item B, department head reports. We'll start with Dustin, BCOAC.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I submitted a written report with what we did at the facility in 2021. Did anybody have any questions or concerns about that at all? So I'll give you our attendance and kind of our events from January 4th. Through the archery range, we had 83. The gun range, we had 132. We've done 22 events. Our league started up last night, our BCOAC, kind of in-house gun league. We had 30 people. Hopefully we gain a few more as the week goes by, and we'll do a little bit more advertising. We also had a booth at the gun show this year, trying to do a little bit more marketing, and that went very well. A few other items, we also changed our hours to try to accommodate the general public, open up at 3 o'clock during the week. And then closing at 8 o'clock to try to save on some labor, just because 8 to 9, we didn't have many people through the door. We're also renting out some of our equipment to try to offset some of those costs that we have to fixing it. Just want to let you guys know that you'll see an invoice from Train next meeting. It's rather large, but that's our service agreement and our electronic filters. That's the 3-year contract that we did last year. It's going very well. Been working with Train pretty closely. They've been helping me out every time I call them. They show up on site, and we're trying to work through issues that we've had in the past. You're also going to see some unexpected expenses because we did have a pipe break in the facility. So cleaning up of water, some drywall, we re-insulated some pipes, did some spray foam, try to fix it a little better for more long term, I guess. Any questions on that at all? That's all I had, I guess.
Any questions?
I just want to say the numbers were fantastic. Thank you for the job you're doing.
Yeah, and I tried to include some pictures just to show what we can do in the archery range. Basically try to accommodate anybody that comes through the door, and then try to do a few events here and there to try to offset costs for the archery and gun range. But yeah, perfect.
Excellent. Thanks, Dustin.
Thank you.
Next, Bob Hill.
Good morning.
Morning.
First thing, we got a wind advisory starting tonight at midnight. It's going to be 40 degrees above zero today and minus 30 degrees wind chill tonight after midnight. We'll put that out on our social media as soon as we can. I did do a staff report, and if you have any questions on that, the additions to the backside would be, I took 7 hours vacation on Wednesday, went out to Pier and attended a legislative meeting on the veterans side of the house, so I was on vacation. It wasn't a duty wasn't a planning zoning type thing. That same day, the Salvation Army sent us their updated assistance procedures. You know, in Brookings County, we've got the Red Cross that assists us if in some areas, and then the Salvation Army steps in on other areas. And they both work together for our citizens, so it's good that they keep us updated on that. We've got information, I'll talk about the rapid test kits here in just a second, but we had a big snow event, obviously, on Friday. Looks like we overcame that pretty good, at least from my angle. The highway superintendent may have different thoughts on that. Thursday, we had a PPCC/pod Zoom meeting. We put that through Zoom on advice of the hospital staff. They requested that I move it to Zoom, and since we have a Zoom account with the county, that was no problem at all. Our end-of-year report's still being worked on. We don't want to turn that in. In years past, every now and then, we've done an end-of-year report a little too fast and have to amend it. So we'll wait until we get our end-of-year report done the right way, and then we'll submit it to the county commission. On Friday, we got notified that, or Thursday, I guess, the Department of Health is going to send COVID-19 rapid test kits to each county. Citizens will be able to get them as soon as everything's set up and the kits are there, and they're not there yet. They're in Pier being shipped out. But the plan is that the Department of Health, if a county has a Department of Health office, they will be the central point to distribute the kits to the public. So the public will be able to go down there and get them if all goes well. The city of Brookings was contacted to get test kits for their people, and I was contacted to get test kits for our people. Once the kits come in, I'll work with the commission, department head, and human resources, and we'll just divvy the kits up by however many we got, and if we can get 2 kits per employee, we'll do it. If we can only do 1 kit per employee, we'll do it. But Department of Health does not want these kits to sit in my basement until they're needed. They want them out to the kits that the county is getting. They want them to the county employees. The kits that Department of Health's getting, they want them passed out. So you'll be hearing about that coming up. Right now, we don't have the kits, so it's kind of hard to, we can start planning, but we can't get 100% guarantees until the kits are in the garage out back. And the kits come in a box of 288, and looks like Brookings County is going to get up a box of 4. So 4 times 288 is what the county health nurse will have to give out to the public. And once those are given out, I'm thinking that they can order more. And of course, at the federal level, starting tomorrow, there's supposed to be a website available, so each family can order 4 test kits to be delivered at home. And in last week's department head, I had done a rapid test and mailed it in and mailed it back. It takes about a week if you do the non-rapid test through the state of South Dakota. And I see that one of the big television newscasts did the same thing, and it took about the same amount of time. If you read their news story and read my real life, it matches up. And just, it looks like there's going to be a CO2 pipeline proposed, and I literally got the information this morning. There's a meeting tonight in Flandreau. I don't have a travel request in, but if it's all right on the consensus of the board, I'll just drive down to Flandreau. And they've got a public meeting from 5:30 to 7 on a CO2 pipeline. And from what I can tell, just from reading it in 2 minutes, it looks like it's coming from one of the big livestock facilities, and they want to pump the gas down south through multi-states. So I don't know. I'll go to the thing and give you an update. But I will tell you, the moment it's not filed with the Public Utilities Commission yet. From the paperwork I see, they plan on filing with the Public Utilities Commission. And if they do, I'm going to request that this board files as an interested party in that. Once we file with the Public Utilities Commission as an interested party, then we'll get all correspondence on this. This correspondence was sent to some people in the county, but not the whole county as a whole. And only the affected townships is what it sounds like was notified, and not the county per se. So, but that'll be coming down the pipe. And other than that, that's all I have. Any questions?
No, I was just gonna say, I was contacted by a township supervisor about this CO2 pipeline. And yesterday I did receive an email, an invitation to this meeting. I've just forwarded it to Bob this morning. So I know it starts, it looks to me as somewhere on the map, it starts somewhere around, Aurora at the ethanol plants and goes, down south and by Del Rapids, somewhere down there, so.
Yeah, I'll go to the meeting and try to figure out what's going on and let you guys know.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Brian, Highway Department.
Well, in between snows, we've been staying busy. We've been doing a little bit of riprap work, kind of on the northeast side of the county, while the water's down. We had some areas where it was eroding into the road embankment, and we were just kind of armoring that up. We've also been working on some crack sealing, started that. And then last week I was down to visit the bridge contract with the bridge contractor, and we reached a pretty good milestone with being out of the water now. The cofferdam and all the forms are removed from that second bent there. You can kind of see in the picture. They're going to be working on today, pouring that cap, and hopefully by the end of the week or next week, have some beams set over the river.
Any questions, anyone?
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Marty, any report?
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, with our snow on Friday, actually it went well. We didn't have a lot of slide-ins and so forth. Calling off school helped, because just the fact is that all the rural schools called off, and along with Brookings, and there's just less urgent traffic out there trying to get their kids to school and at work and so forth. So that went well. Also, I got to thank Brian and his crew. Is that got a call Saturday morning from the Presbyterian Church, and they have a little going on with the building next door, and they pile the snow in the two handicap spots on that right on the north side, and called Brian, and he was just the crew was just coming in, and they went over there and got that snow out of that, just to keep the church happy and so forth, and so that was good for. I just hit it at the right time that they were coming in, so I didn't have to call them out. So anyway, that worked out good. At the present time, we just have 23 in jail, which is a good number to handle. And one thing about it, since we opened the jail on January 3rd, I think we moved inmates the night of the 3rd, I believe. We've had 0 incident reports. In other words, my staff is just happy because there's room in there, and the inmates aren't crowded, and they're getting along better. And probably one of the best things we did when we were planning that jail is putting in those 2 pods with sub-day rooms. Is that we do have a couple individuals that causes some problems, but we put them in that sub-day room, and that eliminates those problems. So that's one of the things that we planned when we were doing that planning and did those sub-day rooms. So anyway, I just wanted to comment on that. COVID-19, we're getting hit a little bit. I have one deputy down right now. What's good is I've had another one down, but they at least they're not all at the same time. They're kind of going one goes down and then gets healed up and then comes back. And so far in the correctional, I just have one part-timer that has COVID right now. So we're dealing with some protocols again, because I have deputies or staff saying that their wife or whatever is tested positive for COVID. But as long as they have no symptoms, and they're masking up and coming to work. I got all essential employees, so I need them at work. Of course, if they're sick, I want them to be home. But until they get symptoms, they're masking up and so forth. So and it's working out good so far, anyway. The only thing I have right now that's a little issue for me is that I've lost communications from the front office to the new jail, because that was on an intercom. If you recall, I had an intercom in the lobby of the sheriff's office that would get to the control room of the jail, and I've lost that now with the demolition and so forth. But I am working with the utilities to get some type of telephone there, is that when you pull up the telephone, it goes right to control. Right now, we have sign on the door that says, most people have cell phones. So to my knowledge, it's not been an issue. But if you commissioners hear something, please get to me so I can work faster on this. But I'm hoping that we'll get something lined up. Once we get 24/7 on the east side done, that may become the main entrance for jail stuff and so forth. So that's something we need to work on as time goes on. Some of the protocols that we've done so far is that I was able to work with the judges and state's attorney's office, and we shut down the 24/7 blowing at this point. So they're not coming in twice a day to blow, but I'm continuing to do everything else, the urine tests and so forth, and so we're continuing to do that. We've limited some fingerprinting hours and so forth, and we've cut off programming with church services and AA for the present time until things slow down, and then we'll resume back with some of that. Other than that, been out doing some talks with Legion and White. Optimist Club wanted me to, I zoomed in on that one. And other than that, I guess if you guys have some questions.
Anyone?
Otherwise, thank you, commissioners, for the jail. It's not all about the jail, it's about room programming. If we can get past COVID, we get into phase 3 in June, that's when things will really open up, because we'll have a place for programming. Right now I'm kind of limited for programming because I don't have that space, because that goes in phase 3. But you could tell the attitude with the correctional officers, and actually a lot of the inmates are invited to rec, but they're walking in their cell area. So some of them they exercise in their cell area. So, but what's amazing is the incidents, the less incidents, and that just helps with staffing and so forth. So thank you.
Artie, I did have a quick question. On 24/7, you mentioned that, we don't have that section ready yet, and you've suspended the blowing portion for now due to COVID. Do you have an anticipated idea of what protocols will look like and where those functionalities will occur once we get through this kind of COVID spike?
It's going to be in that door on the west side and the north, but I got to figure out a little better way to do it. What was happening also is when it was cold, they were all coming into that little area, and then there'd be like 5 or 6 in that area. I had no way to protect my employee either from the blowing, and so, I'm working with staff to kind of figure out how we can do things differently so that the staff is protected and so forth, and because I want to get back to the 24/7, because it's important. It's important, but it's just, we don't, with the old style, with the old jail, we were able to do it because we had extra doors to the that we could make and so forth. Here, it's just a little different, because when they come into that little area, it's just the employee, and you might have 5 or 6 waiting to blow. And so there's another door there that I might make something that kind of comes into the sally port, so that they can go into the sally port. Or there's that where the officer comes in, and if he has an inmate or a arrestee in that area there, we could maybe do something in that area too. But we're working on how we can do that better.
It would be great once you guys get a chance to figure out what that process will look like, to make sure that we make the public aware of how that process will go forward from here.
Yep.
And I think getting that reinstituted as quickly as possible is important.
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks. Misty.
Good morning. I'll be real short. I just want to update. Our four-wheeler came in. to Rolifson's. We won't be picking that up till after the February claims are paid, February 1st claims. Excuse me. The total price for that was $7,500. Also, too, I was waiting on a bid for, or excuse me, a quote for the spray system for that ATV to update it. The quote for that was $1,362. We're still under budget for what we budgeted for the ATVs, for the ATV, excuse me, and the spray system. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Chemical bids, we'll be opening them January 26th, 2022, down in the finance office at 9 o'clock in the morning. Just wanted to make you aware of that. I've got emails out, and I am going to go visit some other people just to touch base with everybody, so we have a fair amount of people bidding, hopefully. Prices of chemicals are going through the roof. It's going to be trying, I would say. We have our annual meeting at the BCOAC, February 14th at 10 a.m. Hope to see all you there. We worked really hard at trying to make this available for everybody to attend, and to pinpoint one day, it was terribly hard. Also, just want to let you know, I have a travel request in to go to Sioux Falls Farm and Home Show on the 26th after we open bids. That's the agreement I made with State Department of Ag. So that's in. And then also, I got called upon to work at the Farm and Home Show in Watertown on February 10th. I believe there's not a travel request in, but I will get one in to you for that day. That's all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Would you say that annual meeting date again?
February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Misty. Lori, finance office updates. We've got about 3 minutes, so yep, see how far we get.
Okay, the corrected budget is coming around to you. There are 3 lines that are in the negative. One of those was keyed in correctly for the highway, the 201 for 311 4350. That's in the wrong line. It will go into a line that has a budget of about 788,000, so we should be good there. The other 2, Stacy could tell you what those are for.
So the one for the interchange project, and then at the bottom, the FFE technology out of 304, those, the last item on your regular business is to get a consensus to publish a supplemental budget. Those will be corrected through the supplemental budget process because those are using fund balance that rolled last year, so we just have to do that correction. So after the typing error on the 201, everything is fine.
The deadline for nominating petitions for primary election and filing independent candidate positions are coming up. Contact our office for those deadlines or Secretary of State's office. For the county, we have the County Commission, Register of Deeds, County Sheriff, and Coroner all coming up. And also by February 1st of each year, the County Finance Office determines the number of on-sale and off-sale liquor licenses available for the ensuing calendar and reports that to the board. The total number for Brookings County, we have 7 on-sale liquor licenses and 6 off-sale licenses. We have 1 on-sale liquor license which is available and 6 off-sale licenses which are available. The other thing, tax notices will be hitting mailboxes this week, so we'll all be very popular. I did find out in just kind of perusing the tax notices that owners of older, like the older 2-story homes, probably saw a nice decrease in their taxes due to a new valuation on those. So those are lucky people. And that's basically about all I got. And it's 9 o'clock.
Sounds good. Perfect timing. Thank you. Just a quick note, those be it noted items, the auditor's account with the treasurer, payroll and additives total, of fees collected from the Register of Deeds, all part of the finance officer's report. It is 9 o'clock, so we will move to our scheduled 9 o'clock agenda item 7A with Wendy Hansen, owner of Smokin's Pub and Grub, for a discussion on liquor license status. I don't know if it makes the most sense, Stacy, Jenna, Lori, to kind of have the applicant present and then we'll kind of discuss after the fact. So Wendy, if you would like the floor to kind of talk through.
Sure. My name is Wendy Hansen, and I have possessed the one county liquor license that's now up for new application since 2010, when it was Smokin' Johnny's. 2013, it became Smokin's Pub and Grub because our partnership split up. I'm here because in 2018, after the last time you file for the season, which is always in September, was the last time I filed, for which I'd spoke with you guys in 2020 when I was reissued my new license for 2021. But in 2018, the Department of Revenue on the state level, Marnie, said that my sales tax license was canceled, and that is absolutely not correct at all. There's been a missed thing there. 2018, we always file in September. That's our last one because we were seasonal. The cancellation was never canceled. It was on you can suspend them for 1 to 2 years. So anyway, there was no cancellation requested by myself or my bookkeeper. When it came full around to 2021, then they just said that it was canceled in 2018, but I want to clarify that. That's not correct. That was not correct at all. I spoke to Denise Lickness from Watertown Department of Revenue when it came time to me speaking with you guys in December 1st of 2020 for my license, when I told you in 19, because of our flooding, I wasn't open in 2020, then the pandemic came. I spoke with you guys on December 1st, 2020 and explained myself, and you guys granted me my liquor license for 2021. So, going forward, the sales tax license number that I applied for in 2021 on the application was my same number I've had since 2010. So, I had no idea that it was canceled. No one sent me anything. The cancellation came when I filed for my sales tax that I did for business in 2021 at my place, July and August. My new sales tax license was gotten in August, and they gave me a new one. Don from the Department of Revenue in Watertown gave me my new license number rather than just reinstating my old sales tax license. I have a bookkeeper. I had no idea I had a new number. I have other liquor licenses in different counties and stuff. Apparently, a transfer should have been done at that point, but I had no idea. No one told me that my license was revoked, which is what Marnie was saying. I never got nothing on that at all. I had no idea, absolutely no idea, until when I came to you guys came and for this next go around for 2021 or 2022, excuse me. And then when you get the applications in, which Jenna does, then the state goes through and they say, is this state sales tax license, is it active or inactive? And it was stated it was inactive, not canceled, inactive. Okay, so, which you guys knew that because I had talked with you guys in December 1st of 2020 and explained myself as to why the business hadn't been going. So I went on in July, conducted business as usual at my place, not knowing, having no idea that my liquor license that you guys issued me, they took back. And no one said anything to me. And so I filed July, August, and September, my sales tax for the July, August, and September. And then I find out for the new one that you guys voted it down because it was considered inactive. I did have a legitimate new sales tax number. Had I even known that this mix-up would bring me to this, where I'm now having to reapply for something I've had since 2010, believe me, I would have done whatever I needed to do. I had no idea, none whatsoever. That this whole debacle happened. When I spoke with Marty on the state level, she told me, I said, how did this happen? When you revoked it, why didn't I get a letter? Why didn't the county get a letter? Why didn't the liquor distributors get a letter? And she said, what she told me was, I said, how did this even happen? How did I get a liquor license, have it revoked, and not even told? And she said she admitted that there was someone new on the thing, that there was a mistake. And that's all that she said to me. And I said, well, this is my livelihood. This is what I've been doing this forever. You know, I need this liquor license. And she said, well, it's now up to the commission. And so I just wanted to explain what happened here and to let you guys know. Marty has inconsistencies even on an email she sent to Jenna. She said that I didn't get a new sales tax license number until September of 2021, which is not true. When my bookkeeper got a hold of Don in Watertown and said, we're going to resume business again, because I never had any intentions of not doing business there. I never asked for it to be canceled. He just said, we'll just issue a new one. She didn't know what was going to come down the line. I didn't know what was going to come down the line. Had he given me my old number back, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And I'm almost positive I would be still, going forward. And I had no idea. So now I'm here to let you guys know what happened and try and clear up some stuff here. So it's tough because the state is, the head ruler, but they're inconsistent on some things. They messed up. Jenna did everything she was supposed to do as far as the 2 years goes. I didn't have business. I explained myself to you guys that. There was nothing, even with the liquor license for that December. In June, prior to that, I had to apply for a malt beverage. Nothing came about then in 2020 that said, hey, Wendy, guess what? You're applying for all these liquor licenses and your state sales tax license has been canceled. I had no clue. And that they never put it in a canceled status until 2021 when I filed my monthly statements. So I apologize. I'm here to let you guys know what happened. I am going to pursue further if this does not go my way as far as the state goes, because there was clearly some huge mistakes on their end. And I still, to this day, haven't received any letter from them stating that my license or liquor license was canceled. So, sorry, I'm cottonmouthed. I haven't slept. So I'm stunned. So, sorry.
Thanks, Wendy. Jenna, do you want to kind of talk through what you and Lori have discovered?
Yeah, I mean, you guys heard a pretty good explanation of kind of what happened. What it sounds like is that a new sales tax license was created for her instead of it being reinstated. She claimed she had no idea. We wouldn't, we have no business of knowing whether sales tax license are expired or this or that or what they decide to do. I guess long story short would be a notice has already been published in the newspapers for the available liquor license. It was published January 6th. And again, it was published on the 6th and the 13th. So anyone's going to be able to apply for that. I mean, if you look at the ordinance of just a strict reading of the ordinance that we have set in place, Wendy wouldn't be able to reapply for this liquor license until 1 year has expired. So if you look at our, if you look at our ordinance, that's what it states. But there was a mishap in the sales tax license, and so I think there's some confusion there, but ultimately, it's up to the board on whether or not they want to issue a malt beverage license or a liquor license to an establishment here in Brookings County. So it is ultimately up to your guys' decision.
Okay, thanks, Jenna. Questions from commissioners?
You said you did do business in 2021?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what, were the doors open? What,
Yeah, July, August, and September, we were open. Certain weekends, it's all weather pending, being majority of it's all outside and stuff, so. But yes, I filed July, August, and September's sales tax returns, so.
Other questions, comments from the board?
Just a quick question, if I may. Do you have any copies of your sales tax reports that you filed that were on the wrong number that we could see? Any evidence of any of that filing on your behalf?
Sure, I don't have them with me right now, I apologize, Mike. I do have them on my phone. I'm just, I apologize, I don't have them. I don't know if Jenna, I'm not real techie, so in the situation, I could have made some copies, however, I did not, but I do have them. And
Right,
I
what
even
we're
have,
looking for
I have an
is that-
email from Lickness letting you guys know when I did file and stuff from the Department of Revenue. From Denise Lickness.
Would be advantageous for us to see that, so we see the filing dates and that those things went into the state, either from the state or from yourself. Probably from the state, I would think, Dan, wouldn't
Okay.
you be able to access those records?
And she is the sales tax
Yeah.
gal in Watertown that emailed and said that I did file on the dates I filed and the previous times I filed. And it always ends in September because it was seasonal, so.
And if there's some, I don't want to call the word culpability with the state on their sales tax license revenue, but I guess I'd like to see evidence that you had filed and things were different. I mean, you could tell me that.
Yes,
but
I have
I'm not
that. Yeah,
seeing any
yeah, no,
documentation, and that would be something I'd like to see before I would.
For sure, and I
take under
would
consideration.
be more than happy to get that to you guys.
Dan, as far as our ordinance is concerned, I'm waiting 1 year between applications once you've been. Our denial was, when did we do that? Anybody know? June?
For the malt beverage license,
Liquor license.
for the liquor license, we do, we typically do them like, I'll bring all the applications to you towards the end of each year.
December for
Yep.
liquor.
And so it would have been done in December sometime, or November.
December.
Was it December?
It's
Liquor
December.
licenses we typically do in December. Malt beverage licenses
Yeah.
in June.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is
That's when we
correct.
took official action not
Yes,
to renew
I
this
believe,
particular
yes.
license. Is that correct? Okay.
I'd have to look back on that date for sure, but it was it's typically that first meeting in December. It may have been the last meeting of November, but that was pretty early this year, so I think it was the first meeting in December.
It was December 14th, 2021.
I guess
So-
before I would like to take any further action on it whatsoever, I'd like to see all the documentation in writing so that
Okay.
we've got it at our next meeting, take a look at it and
For sure.
see us to look at a paper trail of what happened.
For sure,
And even
yes.
from the sales tax revenue department to make sure that we're not misinformed.
Jenna received emails from both Marnie and Denise Lickness on the Department of Revenue stating what happened and all of this as well. So, and she breaks it down on there. So,
Right. So I'd like to see all that in print. I mean, this is a nice report chronologically that Jenna's put together, but doesn't have any of those applications
Sure.
to make sure that you filed as you said you did,
sure.
and it didn't happen.
Yep, and I just want to make note too, our office doesn't have filing reports. You know, we don't keep businesses, what you guys file with your sale, we don't keep any records of
Sure.
that.
I'll get them. I'll get them. Believe me, I'll get them.
but I guess we've already advertised for this. So, I mean, the ship has already sailed on making it available. So is the question basically saying that we're going to let her apply for it and waive the 1-year deal because of the situation? Or are we just giving her the license back even though we've applied for it? I don't know if we can do that.
That inherently is the question. Since it's already been advertised, I think if the board is comfortable allowing her to apply again with the information that she provides showing that she did indeed have sales over the summer of 2021, July, August, September, I think, yes, reading the strict language of the ordinance is one thing, but if there were mistakes made and you denied it based on, errors that were made, I think you could reconsider it as, if there are other along with other applications that may come in.
May I ask something? As far as the level, and maybe what the process is? I mean, why was I not notified? If I have to come to you guys and I have to, I didn't even know my license was taken away after you gave it to me. Notified. Who's supposed to notify me? And you guys weren't notified either. And neither were the representatives for the liquor companies, and I don't know if they have to be or not, but I'm guessing so. They don't issue you liquor if you don't have a license, and every month they have reports that say who hasn't paid, who hasn't, who's not done their sales tax returns, stuff like that. So they were not aware of it either.
I don't think we get, I could be wrong, we don't get your individual numbers or whoever we issue a liquor license or a malt beverage, we don't get any of the sales tax information.
No,
We basically look, is the number active, or is there an active sales tax license? And that's what we get.
what I'm saying is Marnie revoked my license that you guys already gave me.
Right, and we wouldn't get, I don't think we would get notice of that. We would
Okay.
just look and see if it's inactive or not, and that's all we can do. We wouldn't get notice that they've changed your number or revoked.
No,
your
I'm
number or
not.
anything.
I was just talking about the liquor license itself. When I was issued it for 2021, and they took it away from me.
They didn't, I mean, I've got the letter right here and everything is mailed to you. So, our office, we did handle it the way that we're supposed to and we mail everything off. So
Yeah, when you guys brought it on December 14th, but prior to that is what I was just asking, like, if something is revoked.
You had a license from us prior to that. So you wouldn't have got a letter that it's been revoked. The only one we did is the 2022 license.
Correct.
22.
Okay,
That's the only letter you would have received from
okay,
us.
that's what I was asking, is how, if it was taken, as Marnie said, or revoked.
You didn't lose your license in 2021. You used it, your liquor license, malt beverage license. What was revoked was your sales tax, and we really don't have anything to do with that.
Okay,
So
yep,
you were denied
thanks
your
for
license
clarifying that.
moving forward because of
The sales tax number,
sales tax showing it's inactive and you didn't do business is what we had thought. So,
for sure. Thank you.
and now, like I said, the ship has kind of sailed already. We've, it was mixed up. We understand that, but we can't go back and say, oh, sorry, we'll give it back to you since we've already
Right,
advertised
correct.
it.
I just wanted to
You're gonna-
explain.
You're going
Yep.
to have to apply just like everybody else, but if you can get the information.
I will.
that Commissioner Bartley talked about,
Absolutely.
certainly would help us in our decision.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Thanks.
Great. So we'll plan to hear that for official action along with any other applications, provided that we've got the documentation then.
Did you want to see that before then? Before the application process?
I think if it gets
So the next
submitted to
meeting-
Jenna with the packet, that would be great.
Okay. Do I come to the next board meeting and present it?
So we'll be receiving those applications here in the next couple weeks.
we have to wait at least 30 days from the last publication date. So without looking at the date correctly, it'd be around mid-February. But you and I can work kind of together, and I
Okay.
think that we can submit those reports in the packet along with some of the, not for the public to see, but just for the board's eyes to
For sure.
see. We'll work together on it.
Sounds
on
great.
the
Thank
dates.
you. Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks, Wendy.
Yep.
All right. So since we're,
Do you want to go back and do claims now that we've
Yep.
seen that report?
sure. So I would need a motion to remove item 6A from the table for reconsideration.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. To remove it from the table. To remove it from the table. Okay. And now, claims. Is there a motion to approve the claims?
So moved.
Oh, we had a motion
Yeah, we
already.
already had a
Sorry.
motion,
Any discussion on the claims?
I just have a question.
Go for it.
Okay. Where it says on this report, AP pending due to pool in several different places, just what does that mean?
That's accounts payable. That's, how do I explain it? It's the software doing kind of things, it hitting cash basically. So it's the total, the grand total of the claims, or it should be, I think, by fund, right? And that's what's going to be that'll be the amount that hits our cash. It's a transaction that happens kind of behind the scenes within the software. So that's just giving you a grand total by fund that's going to reduce cash, because that's what we're paying out.
So, but that $500,000 approximately are those items, okay? They're included in the, I don't think they are included in the 914 total. So do we have an additional $500,000 outstanding in accounts payable?
No, that's just showing you grand totals. That's the amount by fund that's going to hit cash. So it's just a total of each claim by fund.
And when we approve claims, there's nothing that's being paid on that. What we're
No.
paying is what's on the direct
No,
payable.
it's just showing you that's the total amount that's going to get, that cash will be reduced when you pay the claims.
Any other questions or comments on the claims? Hearing none. Jenna, will you call the roll, please?
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great. Moving on to item 8, regular business.
Actually, we have some be it noted items in routine business.
I did those.
There's a second set of be it noteds on the bottom of page 2.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep,
Thank
some
you.
different
Thank you.
annual be it noted items.
So item 6D, other additional be it noted items, the volunteer list for work comp purposes, the 2022 wage scale, the authorization for first quarter state and local agreements. Those are the additional 3. Now item 8A, first reading of ordinance 2022-01, an ordinance authorizing the rezoning of outlet C and D of northwest quarter, southeast quarter in section 11, Township 109, North Range 50 West in Madera Township. I don't believe we have to read the entire thing in its holistic nature, correct?
Correct? We just
So the second reading and public hearing will be held on Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022 at 9 a.m. So item 8B, action to approve resolution 22-03, a plat of tract 1 of the Oyen addition in the east half of the southwest quarter of section 20, Township 112, North Range 47 West of the 5th Prime Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? We don't have a Bob. Our representative from Planning Commission?
oops.
But that was approved by planning and zoning, right?
Yes. Oh, Bob's not here. He can't. It was approved unanimously by planning and zoning. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 8C, action to approve resolution 22-04, a resolution setting weight limit enforcements on Brookings County highways. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Brian?
There's just two additions we made, or subtractions, I should say. it was never noted that County Road 4 on the north side of Bruce, it's approximately a half mile long. It's a paved stretch, and there's some trucking outfits on the west side of town that they've just been using that road, so I outlined that in there. And then also County Road 5, just off of Highway 14. If you guys recall, the city of Volga is doing that industrial park on the north side of 14, so we're going to exempt that half mile. That'd be the first area where they could turn around, and I guess unless somebody has an objection to it, that's where we'd place our sign for that. And there's also another trucking outfit that's north of that. But if we posted it right to the north of where the industrial park would be, it's kind of in a low area. So by the time somebody would see it, there's really nowhere to turn around. So I just put it at the first spot where there'd be, able to turn around, noticing that there's a load limit on that road.
Great. Any questions from the commissioners? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 8D, action to approve agreement number 22-03, a Brookings County Detention Center inmate housing contract between Brookings County and Moody County. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Marty, any comments on that one?
Has contacted me a long time ago, wishing to as soon as we could, possible do a contract with Moody County. Also, Judge Howard also had visited with me about that, because she's the magistrate judge for Moody County, and she said that would really work great, and it would work good for us for scheduling a bond and things like that, especially when Judge Howard is stationed out of Brookings and so forth. So at this present time, I'm only offering it to Moody County.
Questions?
So, Marty, there have been agreements in the past with different counties. This agreement's a lot different than those agreements, is my recollection. Who
Yes.
drafted this agreement?
Pardon?
Who drafted this agreement?
Myself and Bart.
Okay.
And then what we did is we took agreements, we looked at all the agreements with Falk County, Minnehaha, and used some of their wording too.
And I'm not opposed to the agreement, and I think we should be working with Moody County. I just would like to ask Dan if it would be possible for the state's attorney's office, maybe not this one if we don't have time, but to come up with a standard contract, because these are going to be coming in front of us on a regular basis, I think, and maybe shift some of the contract terms to more legal language that I'm not being critical. I'm just saying it's not really there. It needs some spiffing.
Well, I sent
and-
it to Dan, and he said, of course, we
and-
can always have spiffing, but I guess
Right.
there's probably 10 other counties that need spiffing also. I guess it's pretty much worded like other counties. I guess,
it
I
just
don't know
needs
what
to
you
be-
can, I guess you have some example where you're,
Sure, there are typos in it. There are places where we say of when we mean at. And there are things like that. But, and I don't have a problem with this one-year contract from Moody County, okay? But I do think that we are going to get requests from multiple counties. I think we'll hear from some of the counties up north. I think we should come up with a standard contract that our state's attorneys had, some input on. And I understand, Dan, I think, sent me a copy of it too, and I'll just be upfront with you and say I was gone and I didn't get a chance to read through it till I was reviewing for the meeting today. And I'm fine with this contract for Moody County for a year, but I think we could come up with something that would be a little more polished for using in the future.
well, I guess I'll rely on the state's attorney's office then to do that, and then
Well, let's approve this one,
Yep,
and then moving forward, we can all sit down and.
that'd be great. That'd be great.
I mean, I have no problem with the contents unless Dan's got a problem with the contents. If it's the wording, then let's get the
Yes,
wording.
let's
so-
just get it cleaned up where there are a few ambiguities, particularly regarding some of the issues. For example, if we had a jail suicide, I couldn't tell who's responsible for that. And I think that the way it's written, we take responsibility. I'm not sure that we want that.
If we
written
have
in.
negligence, if it's negligence on our part.
So there are just some things like that that I'd like us to look at a little bit more carefully. And did I see another email? And I apologize for the fact that I didn't get a chance to look at this in advance. Was there a conversation with our insurer on this? Or was that
Yeah,
something
they
else?
approved it. They didn't
Yeah,
have any
I
issues.
thought that's what you said.
The U.S. Attorney's Office has contacted me. They would like to have a contract with the tribe, but I'm not. I need to have more information on their bonding and things like that. So I'm not really looking to get involved with that at this point. But once we are fully going in June and we have medical and that, that contract too. But at this point, I just soon not just honor Moody County. He's probably the most in dire need because he's going all over the place. So.
And we're just going to get more requests like this, so we might as well have something in place that everybody's happy with that will just flow through the system, so. Sorry.
Here, and I thought it was a pretty good contract. I thought we had everything in there, and I missed the ofs and the ands and the things like that. My main concern was, payments and
I appreciate that.
liability and stuff. And we talk about suicide is right, but it's negligent. If we hold another inmate and we're negligent, then we're going to be responsible for, So it's a burden to take on also, but also it'll help pay for the facility too, because I have to have the same number of staff for 20 inmates as I do for 60 inmates. So.
And that was my question. You just said Moody, and that's the reason you're stopping with Moody is until you get full running,
Right.
full going, then you would look at potentially other counties to fill up and fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then $95 I see is per day is what we're asking, and you feel that's a good number to.
Yes, yeah,
that.
yeah. And that's kind of what the average of Minnehaha is $97.
Okay.
And the other sheriffs I've talked to that have been lower are all went up to 95 for. So I feel that that's probably a good number at this point. I know when Lincoln County commissioners toured here, they asked if we would. They even talked about sending inmates. Mike was with us, Commissioner Bartley, and they go, "Will you take 20?" But at this point, no. But that was just when they decide or when they get to their building stage and get all that approved, they need to house their inmates somewhere. So depending on where we're at that time, I mean, when they get to that point, we'll see where we're at too. So anyway, so yeah, you build it, they will come. Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Call the roll, please.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman. Motion carries.
Just one thing, it's at Moody County today to be approved. So they'll do all their signing and then get to us, and then Commissioner, if you'll sign off on that one, and okay, thank you.
Thanks, Marty. Item E, action to approve agreement number 22-04, a State of South Dakota Joint Powers Financial and Maintenance Agreement between the South Dakota Department of Transportation and Brookings County, South Dakota for project number PH0010, parentheses 155, PCN 06 TV. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval?
Second?
Are there any comments? Brian? Anything that you know on this one?
Believe, I guess I'm not familiar with this one. I'll have to be honest with you.
Did DOT not chat with you about this one at all?
No, but
Okay.
it's probably along the lines of our grants that we received last year. Yeah, this would be
It's
for
this-
one of our grants that we received last year. Basically stating then we'd be responsible for, 100% of it and get reimbursed.
So that's a
Preliminary
reimbursement. Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? Good. Hearing none. Call the roll, please.
Bartley?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item F, action to approve agreement number 22-05, a voluntary right-of-way donation agreement between Brookings County and Frederick and Mary Meyer, Brookings, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any further comments on this one? Questions?
This is some right-of-way agreements that we've applied for the grant for. Be on County Road 19 or the Golf Course Road.
Yep.
And the only thing that I'd like to point out to you on this one, if we do need additional information, I know that we had talked to her about it, but the gal that signed for us signed power of attorney. These two folks are not able to, so she did sign power of attorney, but just wanted to point that out.
Commissioner Pierce?
That's what my question was about. Did she give you a copy of the power of attorney?
She didn't have it with her, but if we need it, I can get it to you guys.
I don't think we necessarily need it for today, but this is going to get recorded with the Register of Deeds office, right? And it will need to have a copy of that power of attorney attached to it for recording purposes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item G, action to approve agreement number 22-06, a voluntary right-of-way donation between Brookings County and Terry Wick et al. Of Nanda, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Same bridge, other side of the road.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian. Any questions on this one? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item H, action to approve a utility certificate for a bridge improvement grant project, structure number 06150-215. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any comments on this one?
Same bridge that we've been talking about, just notifying the state that we've contacted all utilities that were highlighted on the 811.
Thanks, Brian. Any further questions or comments on this one from the commissioners? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item I, action to approve a right-of-way certificate for bridge improvement grant project, structure number 06-150-215. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second. Any comments on this one?
Same bridge.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item J, action to approve change order number 010 for the Brookings County Detention Center project in the amount of $16,707. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any comments on this one?
I did list out what this change order all includes. There was discussion at the jail meeting last Thursday about removing it looks like it's the $3,216 for the relocation of the transformer box for the portable generator. I think maybe Larry and Mike were at that meeting. Was that the wish to exclude that from this change order? Instead of moving it, the discussion was
Leave it where it is.
leave it where it is.
What it is basically is a box on the side of the building on the west side, and it was not specified where it went when they did the building design, so that's where it ended up. And to move it back inside the building into the Sally port was pretty expensive proposition versus painting the box outside, primarily because they'd have to try and match the wall outside, and that was expensive. So we determined that with proper security on the lock on the system, and nobody could really hook up into it or do any damage to anything inside the facility with the box there, that we would leave it.
Yes,
So
so
we ask it
we,
be taken out.
do you want to amend the motion then to exclude that from this change order, the new amount then would be 13,491, if I did
I
math
would make
right.
that motion.
So we have a motion to amend from Commissioner Bartley. Is there a second to the
Second.
amendment? All those in favor of the amendment? I think we can do that as a voice vote. Signify by saying aye.
Yeah, you can ask for discussion on the amendment
An-
first and then. a
Any
voice vote.
discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
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 And then, so that amended motion would be change order 010 for Brookings County Detention Center project in the amount of $13,491. And we'll vote on that original motion. Is there any discussion? Any further discussion? Jenna, call the roll, please.
Jensen,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item K, action to determine the value of a 2013 CAT all-wheel drive motor grader based on submitted appraisals. Is there, do we have a value determination or we need to determine the value?
You need to determine the value based on the 3 appraisals that were included in your packet. That would be the first step.
So we'll start with discussion probably and then.
So in my staff report, I did some averages for you. So the average they kind of give a low and a high based on some things. So the average is between 118,833 to about 120,833 is where it fell.
Based on that average, Commissioner Pierce?
I just had a question for Stacy, and I can't get my calculator to work. When you did the average off of the third appraisal where they gave all those ranges, did you take the 125 plus 138 plus the snow wing?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep.
So
And I did the estimated auction value.
you used estimated auction value as opposed to the fair market value? That the retail value would be the fair market value.
I did the auction value, so it would.
Because it came out lower than what I thought, and that's what I was trying to check the math on, and I guess that's everybody's decision is whether we should be using auction value or fair market value.
We typically auction these pieces of equipment or trade them in.
Generally speaking, I think auction value is basically where I'm thinking we ought to be at. Retail value is a reconditioned, newly painted, and updated piece of equipment that somebody bought at an auction in most cases and has to recondition to make it saleable. So I'm okay with auction values, and I probably would suggest that the 118 is probably our best estimate. I know it's over the 115 that I suggested, and I think that's over what our trade-in value was estimated at, if I don't recall what that was, 114 or
116.
116? So 118 is, again, it's basically going out for bids again, so it's like an auction. It is what it is, it's not reconditioned.
Any further discussion on Mike's suggestion of 118?
Yeah, doing quick math, if you did the retail value, then the estimate falls between 124.5 and 129,333. So
And again, I think that's a recondition of value on retail, so I guess I'd make a motion at 118,000.
We have a motion at 118,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on that amount?
Brian, do you have a recommendation on?
Looking at those figures, I mean, I think that's pretty fair.
And the wing is as is.
Correct.
I will say, but you can tell it from my appraisal, based on the people that I talked to, that's low.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of determining the fair market value as 118,000 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item L, action to approve a late elderly tax freeze application. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments on that application?
This is a yearly elderly tax freeze program. This one came in late. They do have the right to petition the county commission to see if they qualify for the freeze. This does recalculate the valuation, and so therefore adjusting the tax amount.
Great. Any discussion, commissioners? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item M, action to approve a request to fill vacancy for a full-time deputy sheriff. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item N, action to approve a request to fill vacancy for a full-time correctional officer. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or discussion on this one? I think these are all items we've heard about and are prepared for, so that makes a difference. Any further comments, questions on this one? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item O, action to approve a request to fill vacancy for a temporary deputy sheriff. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? And this was the kind
So
of
we
temporary
had
term?
someone hired as a temp and then they got promoted to full-time. So, so now we need another temp.
I was going to say, I thought we just did this.
The individual deputy that was hired decided that he didn't know where he was going to be because of his wife coming for the master's program and so forth. Home, and they wanted to buy a home in White. And when they sent in for a temporary, he couldn't get a loan. And he's doing a good job. He's really doing a good job. So I went ahead and moved him into a permanent, and he's able to buy a house, and he lives in White. So that's why we got a temporary again.
Great.
So
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consensus to publish a notice of supplemental budget public hearing. Do we have the consensus of the board to get that published the next time? Great. In that case, item 9. Stacy.
Let's see here. So we did the December surplus analysis. That information was included in your packet. We ended the year at right around that 26%, and we kind of aim for 25%. So we are doing well there. What else did I have? Commissioner Boersma, we can kind of give some background on this. So ICAP, when you're on that board, they decided to do terms for their board members, and you can kind of jump in. And so they're 3-year terms on ICAP. However, we've been kind of going back and forth with discussions. I've sent an email, and I think Commissioner Boersma has sent emails saying, with your elected officials, the terms are never going to necessarily line up perfectly with your terms on your board. They were going to look into that and kind of let us know their thoughts on it. I haven't heard anything back on that yet. But if you recall, we had appointed Commissioner Pierce to the ICAP board for this year, and that's kind of what triggered this. They said, well, Commissioner Boersma was here and she had to fill out her term. So
I did have an opportunity to talk with the executive director of ICAP. And tomorrow at their meeting, they have some new bylaws. I don't know what they say, but they're passing a new set of bylaws to deal with this issue. So they have one commissioner on their board that's appointed from Moody Lake or Brookings County. And the new bylaws, it's my understanding, will deal with the process for deciding between Brookings, Lake, and Moody, who gets to pick the commissioner that'll be on the board. So they're working on the problem.
And you might recall that that board reorganized in May of 2020 during the pandemic to move from 42 directors down to 15. And so by going to regions instead of each county having 3 representatives, they're trying to make sure they have a public sector, a private sector, and a kind of nonprofit service person functioning from each region. The challenge is when their terms start in May and January, fulfilling a 3-year term in an off cycle for a 4-year elected position with a 3-year term never aligns properly. And so they were informed of that when we did the board reorganization, and that comment sort of just never came up until now. So they'll be taking that under consideration here. I believe tomorrow is the next board meeting out at the Swiftel Center, and we should hear back on how they want to proceed after that. So if there's any other comments or questions on that one?
So we'll wait to hear back, and then if there's something that we need to do differently, we'll let you know. But then the last thing was last week or maybe the week before, Bob had sent out an email regarding the legislative conference. Sounds like that still is going to happen in person, just with some mandates in place. But there was also information in that email that talked about the final rules now that came down from Treasury for the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act funds. So I go down to that email. There's some links to some things, but basically it up to $10 million per governmental entity can be spent on government services. Okay, we're receiving approximately 6.8. That means 100% of our funds can be used on government services. So, based on the discussion that we had back in November, would you like, what would you like to see moving forward? Would you like to have another discussion at this meeting as to use of funds? We haven't received the second half of those yet. We've received just the first half. I think the second half is coming this summer. Lori, do you know for ARPA funds when they're distributing those? I don't remember. I can't recall. Can't recall offhand. So I guess I'm just kind of looking for board direction on where we go from here. Or do you want to just wait for a little bit and wait till we get the rest of the monies in so we know exactly what we have? If there's certain projects you want me to start, reaching out, through First District, we have the Ide Bailey is providing that service to kind of vet those requests for us before they get before the monies get spent.
When's our next
So-
10 county meeting?
March, I believe. Yeah.
I think since this information just came out, and it's good information for us in terms of how we allocate the funds, I think we wait a little bit longer, at least till after maybe the Ledge Conference and the time for Ide Bailey to really dig into it, and for First District to correspond with all of us. And this appears to be wide open, and that's a little bit scary. I don't trust them to come back later and say, what did you spend it on? And so I want to make sure we do it appropriately. We've got until 2026, I believe, to expend the funds, whether we do it over a quick disbursement or if we do it over a 3-year disbursement. It seems to be something we need to study and decide. What we don't want to do, I think it was our decision as a group at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, that we would not use this for funds that would obligate them after the money is gone. In other words, hiring additional staff that you can't, through attrition, absorb. So all of a sudden you have to come up with larger budget numbers. We can't really afford 3 years down the road right now to look. We don't know what's going to happen with our revenue. So that it's one-time expenses, not an ongoing expense, is what we're going to have to look at. And I think that changes the scenery just a little bit with this. It's nothing that says we can't spend all the money right away in the first year if that's the best impact we can get out of the funds. So I think what we do is we need to get together, probably the last meeting in February, or the first one in March, and decide which programs we want more information from the recipient from. In other words, we may say that we want to put money in X, but until X comes and tells us what they really need, we're just not going to throw money at it. Come back and give us options of how we can help them is one of the things I guess I'm looking forward to is to put it out there to certain groups that we have funding available, and how would you like to apply, so to speak. That's my thought. I don't think we need to do it the next meeting. I'd wait for the Ledge Conference and maybe some more information.
Commissioner Pierce?
I agree with all of that stuff that Mike just said, but I do have a question about the mental health issues. And if possible, I don't know where they're at in their planning, and maybe you're going to talk about that, Angie, when you do your report, but maybe I think we had a consensus that we're probably going to help there, and maybe we could extend that invitation now to them to come and say, this is what we're looking at, this is what where we need some help, because that's really what these monies are for, is that kind of activity, and we know we're going to do something. Maybe we could just start that one entity moving forward, but that's my thoughts.
Not to kind of jump out of order, but based on our board meeting last night, there is not room to put one more staff member in Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness's current facilities, and they have line items open for 3 staff members in order to fill the backlog of demand that exists in this community right now. And so, given that set of circumstances and the need to rent additional office space, figure out temporary space, acquire property, expand the property that they have in a pretty urgent manner, I would agree that trying to figure out the process so that we can expedite their application process and understand what that partnership looks like would be great. I know their executive director, Mary Beth Fishback, has plans to meet with the city manager here in the next couple weeks to discuss what that looks like, if there's city participation as well. And so I think that will be a timely conversation so that we can kind of see what version of joining forces to make something happen there makes sense.
That was one of our priorities, so I don't have a problem with starting those discussions because it takes some time to put those proposals together.
Other comments on that item? I do think it behooves us to let Ledge Conference and 10 county conversations occur so that we can pull together what we glean from those to put together an actual application process so that we know kind of how we're going to evaluate things going forward as well. Great.
And then the last thing is just dates. A few of those have already come and gone. Brookings Day at the Capitol. I believe I sent information out to you late last week that they're not going to bus individuals out there. They will have a Zoom option. If you still want to go in person, you can get yourself out there. I know there's been some talk about a few of you using the county Durango to get out there. I can, as far as I know, I'm not the keeper of that vehicle. It's out at the highway grounds, but I can sure reach out to Linda and let them know that some of you plan to use it tomorrow. I haven't gotten anything yet, I don't believe, on the Zoom link yet to this for tomorrow for the event.
I do think it's important to note that Kelsey sent out an updated registration item in an email so that it's essentially a re-registering confirmation. So if you were planning to go physically versus virtually, they can figure out vehicle reimbursement and carpools if that's the case. Or if you're planning to go virtually.
Right. And I don't think I got that because you were all individually registered, so you each would have received that individually from Kelsey.
If you want me to forward you that, let me know.
Brenda Schweitzer, the Beta executive director, that is leaving, so that information is there. Misty had mentioned earlier about Townsend Township's meeting being on February 14th out at the BCOAC, and then looking out quite a bit ahead. We have the President's Day holiday coming up. That's all I have, unless you have questions for me.
Thanks, Stacy.
The things that was just talked about on
Yeah.
the Brookings Day at the Capitol. If the Durango goes out and takes commissioners, we are offered the opportunity to have mileage paid. Do we need to apply for that? I would like to see us not do that. But
I would agree with that. I don't think that's necessary. Anything else? All right. Next item. Next item up then is item 10, the
Right.
state's attorney's
for mileage.
office report, annual report.
Well, crime was down last year. DUIs were up. The violent crime stayed pretty consistent. So burglary, aggravated assault, sex crimes, those types of offenses. Drug distribution, meth distribution, about the same. And so if we're just kind of doing maybe the headline events, it was primarily the DUIs, like I said, up 20%. People have asked me what we attribute that to. It's kind of hard to pinpoint one particular reason why that is up. I've heard varying theories about with COVID, more people are drinking. But I think our law enforcement has done a great job of detecting impaired driving and then putting investigations that result in convictions together. So that I think is a big factor in that. One of the things I think you'll notice from these stats as well is that the drug conviction offenses are down. I attribute that to our diversion programs. I've chosen as state's attorney to take what was voted on, primarily Amendment A, and continue to apply that in terms of my prosecution decisions. If you're cited by law enforcement for something that would have fallen under Amendment A, that's the marijuana measure. So if you're 21 or under or 21 or above and you're caught with less than 1 ounce, we've chosen to refer you to our local diversion program that's run through Brookings Behavioral Health, as well as community service hours here at nonprofits here in town. That has contributed pretty significantly to a drop in the THC oil numbers, which was prosecuted as a felony, as well as misdemeanor marijuana. So those numbers are way down, but that's primarily due to the diversion programs. And so, that has obviously resulted in a drop in the number of cases we're bringing into court. But like I said, also the conviction numbers as well. Class 2 misdemeanors, we didn't actually open nearly as many cases. Typically, our office opens around 1,200 cases a year. We were down into the 800s. I think that's due both to the diversion programs as well as just kind of an overall just drop in the number of offenses being committed here in Brookings County. So we will post these on the website. So for those of you listening, you can go onto the Brookings County website and we'll just post these PDFs for your review there. So this is something the office has been doing the last number of years and something we track. Part of why these stats aren't really indicative of the exact amount of crime that's occurring in Brookings County is because what happens a lot of times is that there are offenses that are committed, in the latter half of last year that carry over into this year. And so just in the first few weeks of January, we've already had, 20 additional DUI convictions that were offenses that were committed sort of last fall. And so that DUI number would have been higher had those individuals pled guilty just a few weeks prior. And you can say that kind of with a lot of different offenses here, but this is kind of a snapshot right at the end of the year. So if you scroll down to the budget, what the commissioners are most concerned with, if you want to zoom in all the way into that. So you can see, as a result of our diversion programs, we've saved the county almost $200,000, which is fairly unprecedented in terms of the ability that one policy decision can have, that a state's attorney can make in terms of the ripple effects from a fiscal standpoint. And so you see the adult defense is the primary number there, $104,000 in savings. And so as a result of our diversion programs, primarily for the marijuana misdemeanor offenses, you can see the massive cost savings. And then you can also see the juvenile defense number. Our juvenile diversion program that's run through the Boys and Girls Club also has had a pretty meaningful impact in the amount of money we're saving. You know, and that allows us, those cost savings that we make in one area allows us to spend money doing jury trials on cases that are violent, you know, cases that I think in the public eye is much more important than a misdemeanor or marijuana case. And so does the public want me to go to jury trial on a domestic violence aggravated assault and use money to bring that jury in, or prosecute misdemeanor marijuana? And so it's these various allocations and priority of where we spend money. I think that's really interesting. And so I think this is probably the primary headline coming out of last year, is just this massive cost savings. And we'll probably the next commission meeting talk about the juvenile stats. But one of the things that will jump out again is, and Commissioner Pierce and I have talked at length about this, but just the massive cost savings we've had in juvenile detention. And that's through that JDAI program that we've partnered again with the Boys and Girls Club. They've been a very strong ally for us in terms of how do we solve accountability but do it in a way that is outside the court system, keeps the community safe, but then from a fiscal standpoint, you know, saves us a lot of money. But part of the issue that we're going to run into here in the next 2 years is sometimes I feel like we'll be a victim of our own success, you know, because it's like going in to maybe next year, the following year, we'll have maybe a reduced budget. And so it's kind of hard to predict some of these things, but this year is obviously a good sort of platform to build off of. But, you know, we can't get probably too carried away in terms of our budget analysis going into June, because I don't want to, you know, have to sit down with Stacy and do a supplemental, you know, budget request on some of these things. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting because it's a credit to the diversion programs, our partnerships with all of our various entities that are involved in that. And then, you know, obviously, you know, some of the other things that were up. You know, we sent more people to prison last year than we did in 2020. And part of that was, I think, some of those violent offenses that you saw that were finally resolved, you know, our homicide individuals that were in jail for a long time were finally, those cases were finally resolved. We had some other sex crimes that were finally resolved here this year that resulted in penitentiary sentences. And so, you know, it's interesting to see that you can send more people to prison, which intuitively you think that, you know, those cases cost more, which they do, but then also saving money because you're not prosecuting some of the misdemeanor marijuana and diverting that out. And so it kind of gets back to that various allocations from a policy standpoint where we're spending money. So that's all I got. We'll probably next commission meeting, we'll do the juvenile, and then the commission meeting after that, we'll do the diversion program numbers, kind of the success rate, the number, the volume, recidivism. All those things are really good to look at, and then we'll do the involuntary committal stats as well. So rather than throwing it all at you guys, we'll kind of just do it as we move forward here this spring. So.
I would just say that, you know, the difference in the budget, Dan's charging decisions really makes just a huge difference. in those numbers for us, and he's to be complimented being able to work with justice and budget at the same time. That's a good thing. The 99,000, the screen went away, I think that we've got for blood test costs. I'm hoping that Marty and Dan will have a conversation, not yet, it's too soon, but about some of those expenses being picked up by the nurse over at the jail eventually here. And maybe, based on our prior conversations, we could maybe save half that amount. But we got to be sure we're in compliance with the evidentiary rules for doing all that. So the two of you would have to work together on that. But I'd see that maybe happening sometime this year if you guys have that on your to-do list.
I would add to the conversation, Dan, as we look at juvenile stats and diversion stats. In some ways, it may be helpful to pull in any kind of commentary from the folks who are helping with those diversion programs. So Robin over at Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness, or the folks at the Boys and Girls Club, so that they can kind of speak to their experience in that as well. I think that would be a helpful, holistic picture for us.
That's good. And Leanne and I talked about having Carly Chapin, who runs our juvenile diversion program over at the Boys and Girls Club, coming over and speaking both to the diversion as well as the JDI. So maybe I will do that here in the next few commission meetings, schedule her to come over and talk. Kind of get that same presentation she gave to us last week.
And when she comes, I've asked that, because it's JDAI and teen court that we spend the 25,000 on, to maybe give us a few years look back between the two programs. It's not, and I probably have this year wrong, that was a 3-year grant. We're in our second year, so it won't impact our budget stuff this year. But I think, if I've got that right, but next year, there will be a request for the county to start paying for the JDI program, which right now is running about $60,000 a year. I think I've got that right. And so that will eat up some of this, but that maybe is a better investment for youth in the county than going through the court system. So those will all be conversations that will be coming.
Great. All right, moving on to item 11, Commissioner reports and discussion items. Commissioner Pierce.
On January 4th, I attended the Madera Township drainage meeting. We just keep on that, and they're going out now and starting to figure out how to make contacts with landowners regarding what their positions are going to be. On January 5th, I attended the local government luncheon that was put on by the chamber, and Hope Niemeyer from the city and Larry Tiedemann and myself, we were a panel that just talked about government and how it operates and answered questions. It was fun. So yeah, I actually had a good, and the pizza was great, by the way. It was all at wooden legs. And then on January 6th, I attended the public affairs meeting, and we've already talked about Brookings Day at the Capitol. I don't see that these are on our calendar, but January 29th, there's a legislative forum here in this room, starting, I believe it's at 9:30. And then on February 12th, there'll be a legislative forum that will be on Zoom. It'll be digital. And then on February 26th will be the last legislative luncheon, and it'll again be here in this room. All of that subject to what's going on with COVID, obviously. And then starting Wednesday, January 26th, at 4 o'clock every Wednesday for a few weeks, there will be a call-in, I think it'll be Zoom and call-in, but that I don't have final word on, where chamber members and other people that are interested can listen to our lobbyist, Matt Krogman, talk about what legislation is pending out in Pier and how it impacts the different members of the chamber, which include the county. And if you're interested in participating in any of those calls, maybe Stacy could send out the call information on that. You do have to register. Then on January 14th, we had our JDAI meeting. We've really already talked about everything. The stats were good for this year, the second year of the program. 48 kids, if I remember right, ran through that program. Carly will give us all information on that, what they're doing with those kids when she comes and talks to us. And then on last Friday, I attended Bart Sweeby's retirement program. Was sorry to see him go, and I wished him the best of luck. That'd be my report.
Commissioner Bartley.
All right, December 30th, we had a detention center meeting, kind of an end of the year one there, and we had another one that we just did on the 13th also, and people are very excited that we got people moved on the 30th. We were worried about when we were going to get them moved, and I think it was on the 3rd that we finally moved our inmates over to the new facility. And our meeting last week, we had to actually move our location from the room we normally are in because it's being tore out, and we went down to the basement, and it was set up really well for us to have our meeting down there. So we continue to move ahead with that project. A couple of issues with some structural things that I think they've resolved, if I recall, and so that went well. Then on the 4th, I went to the joint zoning with the city planning commission. We were to have a discussion on several items. That didn't happen. First District wasn't able to be here because of COVID. And so we did a 10-minute meeting on an item, and then we sat around for 50 minutes until 8 o'clock to start our planning commission. And you saw the results tonight. On the 10th, I went to the Volga Fire Department's feed. Well attended. They always put on a good program over there with the gun raffle and things of that nature. And of course, all I won was a hat, but that's okay. Well, it was. It was a nice hat. On the 14th, attended Bart Sweeby's retirement up here. It was well attended. Sheriff did a nice job of presenting him with his handcuffs and his badge, and I think Dave presented him with his handcuffs and badge deal. And Marty, it was well attended. Everybody had a good time, and comments were made that were complimentary to him, and I thanked him. He's really helped us a lot in this jail project. He's turned it over to Dave, and I think Dave is more than competent to handle it from here on. Dave has special skill sets in the mechanical and electrical operation of the jail that Bart admitted wasn't his strong suite. So we miss Bart, and I did invite him to come back when we have the final grand opening in 6 months, hopefully, if everything's on schedule for phase 2. And that would be my report.
Any questions for Commissioner Bartley? If not,
What's that?
Commissioner? I said,
No
were there
question?
any questions for Commissioner Bartley?
Well, you can't ask questions. That's not.
Yeah, we can. Commissioner Jensen.
On the 4th, I also attended the Madera Township drainage meeting with Leanne. They're ramping up, talked to some landowners on the diversion channel out there. On the 7th, I attended the conservation meeting, which had been moved from the 5th because of the weather. It was a very informational meeting. They wrapped up the 2021 season. I have, if you want numbers, I got all the numbers of trees and all the acres that are planted by the conservation district. They do quite a bit of work for the county, and they're very appreciative of the dollar amount or our participation in their budget. They look forward every year for when 1st January comes around, and it's much needed to get going for their inventory stuff. So they wanted me to thank you guys for that. On the 14th, I also attended Bart's retirement party. Like Commissioner Bartley and Pierce said, it was well attended. Much appreciated of the people that showed up, and Bart's leaving. It's sad, but he's moving on to better things, and I'd like to thank him for all his dedicated service. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Krogman.
A light schedule. We did have a couple beta meetings. We actually had a team's meeting with an FTA person out of Denver on our grant, and so they are looking at it. Again, this is for the grant for their garage, joint garage with the school district. Waiting to hear from the grant, but they are looking at it. They sounded very positive. It was the person we spoke with really liked the idea of the collaboration, but ultimately it won't be up to her. But they had a few questions, and so we are sending some more information back to them. But Brenda said in her years here, she's never been able to have a meeting or a discussion with the federal Transportation Authority. It's always been the state, and so she was pretty excited that they called and did that. So, but it was a good meeting, and she wanted us to sit in on that. And then we had the Board of Directors meeting on the 12th, where we had discussions on Brenda's, moving on to another job, another opportunity. And we discussed an interim director, and we have made a decision on that. And that, again, will be an interim director until we do hire a full-time person there. And we will be opening that up to as many people as possible to see that. And we discussed how we were going to do that. And we may hire a firm to help us with that as a volunteer board. We don't have an HR person. We don't have, we're losing our executive director, so we really don't have somebody to handle that part of it. So we may hire somebody to help us with that job search. So it may take us a while. We want to make sure that we're taking our time, we're not rushing into it, because she's been there for 17 years. Our board's really not had to handle that type of thing in a long time. So we need to make sure we take our time and we do it the right way, that we get the best applicants we can for the position that will allow the Beta to continue to grow as it has over the last 17 years. So anyway, that was a good meeting and a long one, but definitely needed to be had. And we are going back to monthly meetings now because of this decision of taking our time to do this. We're not going to wait quarter. We're going to get together as a board and discuss things as they come up on a monthly basis rather than a quarterly now. And then on the 14th, I wasn't able to make Bart's going away because of the weather. We had to leave out of town before 2, so but I did stop and thank him and shook his hand and appreciated his service to Brookings County and wished him good luck.
Thank you. Both the 5th and the 12th, we've been having regular BEDC executive sessions to kind of tie up loose ends on making sure we get an executive director hired. So at this point, an offer has been extended, and we're waiting to hear the results of what may or may not come out of that. So things still kind of pending. The 10th, we started the next session of the NACO High Performance Leadership Academy that both Stacy and I are participating in over the course of the next 16 weeks, I believe. And so from now until April, we've got a handful of webinars going on every single week, and we'll keep you updated as to how that program looks and works. I know we've had several staff members and department heads go through it. It's kind of interesting to be on the recipient side and see it firsthand. Bob mentioned the 13th was a PPCC Zoom meeting. That was the first one I had a chance to attend. Really interesting to hear the conversation. It went back to Zoom as a result of kind of the spike in cases that's going on at this particular moment. And Bob certainly covered that well. And then the 14th was also at Bart Sweeby's retirement party and wished him well. And it's a well-earned retirement, I think. He's worked his butt off for Brookings County, and we sure appreciate it. And then last night was a Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness Board meeting, and I mentioned a little bit of kind of where they're at in their process in terms of expansion. We've been looking at site alternatives and how we can get as much square footage as is necessary for their continued growth and expansion in the same location as we can. And so they've got kind of 2 directions that they're pursuing simultaneously, and we'll issue a request for proposal to hire an architectural firm to help that, since I can help them with feasibility, but it's conflict of interest for me to do any of that actual work. So we'll be publishing that request for proposals here soon so that we can get someone on board to help work through the design process with them in full and figure out roughly how much does that expansion take in terms of area, how much does it cost, and what kind of support would be necessary to be raised in order to continue to move forward. So exciting times in that organization, and certainly lots going on, but also lots yet to come. So exciting. And that's it for me. Correspondence received from DANR for Thornhill, and I believe that's the end of our agenda except for executive session. So item 12 is an executive session in accordance with SDCL 1-25-2 parentheses 1 for personnel. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving into executive session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? We'll take a quick 5-minute recess.